Sorry. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. And such a pleasure to be here. My name is Rotimi Eitayo, and we are streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to Africa and the entire world. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and we're always here Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Nigerian time or West African time. And of course, on Saturday and Sunday, we host the weekend special, and that is something we do also. Um, but then the time is different. On Saturday is 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. On Sunday, however, is 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's always a great time to share together, to learn together, to also grow together. That's what we do on the show. And we're always excited to host our guest analysts from far and near who come together on the show with us to share their perspective about the subject matter of the day. And today is not going to be an exemption. We're going to be having a great time. And we're going to be talking about an important subject matter that I think will really help people out there to figure out the things that they need to do to actually experience the desired result. So we're talking today about something that I believe, especially for educators, teachers to be precise, they will find really engaging, informative, and also instructive as the case may be. So that's what we're doing today. Our topic today is simply the teacher makeover. The teacher makeover. And I won't be doing this alone. I'll be doing it with other people who will join us, the likes of Olusola Olumide, the likes of Adil Sola, the likes of we have several people, we have Ifyo, we have different people from across the globe, joining us, and they're making it a little bit more of a rich experience, you know, on the show. And we're gonna be also, spending time to look at the dynamics of some of the things that we are learning and see how those things come to bear. A lot of people will probably be interested in the topic because of the latter aspect that speaks about takeover. And so I think that's where we'll probably begin the conversation today on when we talk about uh, teacher makeover. Oh, sorry, I said makeover. Teacher takeover. What exactly does this represent, and how can this be achieved? Is there a benefit? Is it something that is actually spelling doom? So those are the things that we'll be talking about today, and hopefully we are going to be able to have enough time to talk about it and share on this topic, the teacher takeover. And when you hear the word takeover, takeover simply speaks about catching up and also assuming not just responsibility, assuming a position to actually drive desired outcomes. A takeover can actually be something that we can consider as assumption of control, assumption of authority, assumption of privileges. Sometimes it's considered, because it's takeover, it's considered as also capacity to evolve and the capacity to dominate, what has not always been. That's what a takeover can actually be considered to be. And when we look at it, I think that in our time, we must look at takeover from two perspectives. First perspective is that a takeover should be seen as one, the opportunity to also formulate an era where we can easily say that yes, this is our time, this is our turn. The era is so critical when it comes to talking about um, takeover. And a lot of times we look at the narrative and we look at the things that are happening, and it sometimes gives us cause of concern, you know. And I believe that in the real sense of it, we want a situation where the people who control the narrative are no longer outside in terms of perspective, but however, you want to be able to look at the control of narrative shifting, you know, and it's not hard. And ideally, it's expected that when we think about the sector, the people that should be leading and should be driving development, driving change, driving innovation are the teachers. And when we say the teacher takeover, it's also getting people to realize that there has to be a point where we determine who sits in the driver's seat. And a lot of times you get to hear people complain, you get to hear people, give you different feedback as to the kind of things that are happening or the kind of things that should happen. It just signifies to you that the right people are not in the driver's seat. We need to take over the path of development. We need to take over the dynamics of innovation. We need to take over the originality of content creation. We need to take over. That's the truth about it. It's actually a non-negotiable thing if we were to be sincere and we were to be serious about it. A takeover is non-negotiable. Something that must happen is something that must happen immediately, you know. And a lot of people will ask, well, what's the benefit of a takeover? Well, there's several benefits. Number one, when we begin to talk about a takeover, it means that we begin to see people take responsibility for their growth. That's a takeover. We begin to see some of the people or the proponents of what we're talking about. We begin to see them, standing in the gap, being able to leverage the spectrum, being able to rise up, to the occasion to deliver on a lot of desired change, being able to turn things around in their favor, being able to make things happen for themselves. You that's part of it. When you say it's not something negative, as some people would easily feel that takeover takeover does not necessarily represent violence. It does not typify violence. It's totally a departure from that. A takeover is almost you beginning to see how people begin to turn potential into performance. They take the things that they have and begin to turn it into their advantage. That's what the takeover is all about. And it's not just literally when we say teachers. I'm not saying just teachers, but it's also something that you can apply to yourself in the real sense of it. You can apply it to yourself because when we say take over, it simply speaks about you being conscious and aware of the position you've always been, a position probably that has not been in the center stage, a position where probably something else has been taking precedence, something else has been making news, something else has been actually ahead of you. When you take over, it's almost like you're assuming responsibility. You think about the capacity that you have, and you want to, de- you want to, you want to deliver, or you want to execute or behave and perform based on the kind of ability that you have, based on the capacity that you have. And I'm excited when I see people begin to, take over. And when you see some of the elements that characterizes takeover, You see, I mentioned earlier, control, and you begin to see choice. A lot of times it looks like when you think about the average teacher, it's like they don't make their choices, or their choices are from an angular perspective that, well, we've resigned to fate. And resigning to fate simply means that you simply are not in control of things. And that's very critical. Uh, it seems that sometimes that's what happens to a lot of people. Good morning, Olushola Olumide. Welcome to the Good Morning Education
Good,
Show.
good,
Thank you for.
good morning, Rotimi. How are you?
I'm very
Yes,
well,
and
thank you.
good morning to our audience. Yes,
So we're talking about the teacher takeover, and I was trying to bring an introduction to the fact that takeover connotes something. When we talk about takeover, it means something. It means control. It might mean assuming, position. It might mean getting to catch up and becoming someone who has expedited the power of choice. I want to hear from your perspective. When we talk about the teacher takeover, what does this signify? What does this mean? What should we understand by a teacher takeover? Over to you.
thank you very much, Rotimi. Well, it's a nice one, and the word takeover, I think it will affect every sphere of our teacher's life, of anybody who want to take over. Usually, control will not be given to anyone on the platter of gold. You've got to negotiate your way to take over. And expertise come in, once seriousness comes in, your development comes in, and probably your network also comes in. Like just a couple of minutes ago, I was discussing with somebody, an institution that was just upgraded to a university was needs a vice chancellor. Yes, somebody is there acting, but the person isn't a professor. So, as much as that person would have loved to be the one to continue there, there's a benchmark. And in every sphere, there appear to be benchmark. There are certain things that if you think you want to take over or you aspire to, people are going to punch a hole into whatever you lay claim to. And if there's any gap, you won't be able to take over. So for me, I would say, personally, you've got to take over yourself by constant development, retooling, reskilling, upgrading, so that when you come up to say, see, I am here, nobody without your capacity. And at times, your expertise will be so obvious that even people knows it is time for you to take over. It's not the function of age, so to say. Yes, so I would say if you really want to take over, you want to be in charge, if you want to be in control, there are things you need to have. If you don't, it will just be a mere word of mouth. And if the person lacks capacity, even if the person through cool takes over, that person may likely be a disaster going somewhere to happen. So I would say if you want to take over, you want to be sure that you are sure that you have what it takes to take over. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Rotimi.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for that. You said something very profound that constant development leads to opportunity to take over, and control is never given on a platter of gold, which is actually very instructive. Because a lot of people seem to live in the realm of desire, and there's a lot that cannot be done just with desire. You have to move a bit away from desire and get into the place of delivery, doing things, executing. Because desire sometimes is just hidden. It's only you that have the privilege to see what you desire, to know what you desire, to understand what you truly desire. And that's very important, because also when we talk about takeover, we must be mindful that a lot of people listening to us must understand that takeover is very, very, very holistic in nature. There's several things and several areas to take over. As we welcome Light this morning, I probably want to even welcome her with a question. And the question I'm going to ask is, so when we talk about teacher takeover, what are some of the areas that teachers should begin to venture in taking over? Light, Jimmy, welcome to the show. Over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Lights. Yes.
Good to be on the show. So today is an interesting topic, teacher takeover, and I think a lot of aspects that teachers can take over is personally I'll talk about the area of technology. Let me look at that aspect one. So like being pioneer, not pioneering per se, but like being at the forefront of the educational technology. I think teachers can actually leverage on that. Because why? Because we have the skills and we also have the knowledge. So what I mean is this. For example, we see a lot of apps and a lot of things come up at this point in time in the technology world. And but when teachers are involved, it makes it more holistic. It makes it inclusion based. You are able to achieve more than what you are expected to achieve than just leaving it for the tech guys. But once teachers get involved in those things, you are able to make a lot of headway. That is my take on that, my suggestion on that.
Okay, so Light decided to make it something light. I like that suggestion. But I know that Olushola probably might be able to add, when we look at it from the value chain of education, where should teachers be conspicuous? Where should we, design? Over to you, sir.
Hello, Rotimi. a great twist there. In fact, thank you for bringing that on board. Sincerely speaking, teachers need to up their game. Look at other sectors. And the way we have done, yes, government has an issue, policymaker have their whatever, but do you know an average teacher in Nigeria is not proud to be a teacher? So the issue of the sector taking over is going to take a long time. Look at other sectors. An engineer rises up, he says he's an engineer. A doctor rises up, he says he's a doctor. A lawyer rises up, oh, she, I'm a barrister. I'm our learned colleague. But you see a lot of teachers, more than 60-70% are even ashamed to identify. And you know what? There is an adage in Yoruba. If you saw yourself cheap, nobody will buy you in a costly way. And it also shows the way we are remunerated, the way we are valued. Sincerely speaking, I don't know, but right from time, maybe you have heard me say this before, I wouldn't know where the thought came from my mind. When I was doing my doing PP, I go to you, I say, you are helping me take my keys. I'll tell you this how much I want to collect. If you say no, I'll just say thank you and I'll walk away. The reality dawned on me. If it was convenient, why were you not teaching your children yourself? As at that time, it wasn't because I was prominent in any way. It was just something within my subconscious that I am not doing something less. And that is why, if the nation does not rise up, we are sitting on the gag or compada. If I'm trying to look at the word to use, if people who doesn't know their right from their left are the ones teaching our children, are we not heading for destruction? When you get to the hospital and they tell you that that man is a quack, he was not well taught, nobody will tell you to stand up. Even if it was a lie that that doctor is a quack, you will not wait the next minute for the man. You don't want the man to kill you. How come we see teachers who doesn't know their right from their left and we keep taking our children there? Unfortunately, there are many school owners who want to make more money and they bring people who are not well trained to be teaching, and they are earning more. Until we raise the bar personally,
with qualification wise, expertise wise, knowledge wise, then we cannot take over as a sector, as an industry. Because I have said this time with that number, our expertise will serve as a tool for our negotiation. You are remunerated commensurately. When you don't know, you will earn more. Where there are exceptions to the rule, so that is why
Hello, hello. Can you hear us?
I guess, yeah, I can hear you. I guess we've lost
we
Mr. Olumi.
must
Okay.
step up the game qualification wise.
Okay, so while we wait for Lushola to connect properly back to us, um, like you heard some of the things he mentioned, right? And he particularly zoned in on the fact that some of these things start from how people perceive their profession. A lot of people don't seem to be proud to be teachers or educators. And of course, some of the reasons are obvious. But to really experience a takeover, I know that we need to be very deliberate and probably map out areas and elements. And you shared some things earlier. So, how do we begin to have more like positive stories out there? Because if people don't value teachers, it's also part of their public perception. It's possible that the perception that they have or that has been passed across has not been that has been so palatable. How can we begin to share positive stories or begin to, for the want of words, change the narrative? Over to you.
So one way, the truth is just like what Mr. Olushola was saying is the fact that every change has to start from the individual first. So first of all, as a teacher, how do you rate yourself? How do you look at yourself? What kind of mindset do you have towards your profession? Do you just see it as that profession that you went to because you did not have any other you don't have any other job, or there was no other job that was easy to get, or your banking job or whatever jobs again that you applied for was not going through, and you just felt, okay, let me just teach? Or do you look at it as that profession that is really valuable, that is making, or that you can make more impact, that you need to that is impact driven, that is value driven? So do you look at it that way? So that way you're able to start from yourself first, because the reason, and which I agree with Mr. Olushola very much, is the fact that we can't take over if we don't address some issues, and these issues starts with the individual. That is, starts with the educator first. Remember, when I came in, I talked about the educational technology. So if we're looking at, let me just take that instance. So I keep on saying it. I have a lot of friends that are programmers. I have a lot of developers as friends, or as I talk with them from time to time. And you see that they create apps, and you are wondering, you there's a clause in it. Why? Because they are not teachers. So if they are teachers, is if you are, yeah, or if they bring teachers into on board into their creation, they're able to know that, okay, this is what every student needs, this is what every teacher needs. So that way they're able to meet the needs of the teachers and the students. So that's why I said that it actually starts from the individual first. It starts from you as a person. How do you maximize your own potential as a teacher? And one way is to get the skills that are needed Another way is to really expose yourself to a lot of things, expose yourself to meeting a lot of people from different other sectors, expose yourself to getting knowledge, invest in getting this knowledge and get so much as much, because the more you get knowledge, the more you grow. That is the way it works. So one thing is, as an individual, start with yourself first. Then once you start, you are able to transfer this knowledge, transfer this energy to every other person around you, or every other educator around you, and together you can be able to make the change that is needed, or you can be able to take over, just as we are talking about today in our discussion here.
Okay. Um, Very interesting proponent there. And I think that we need to come to terms with the fact and reality that a lot of people also review any kind of meaningful change, because change always demands a lot from people. To think in the place of commerce, in place of naira and kobo, in place of dollar and pound, in the place of earnings. Although I know that there's a bit of a wrong mentality as people try to chase money. So when people hear topics of how they can make money, um, how you can make money is not a bad thing. But I think it's the psyche behind trying to make money. Because sometimes you begin to filter the mentality and objective. You begin to see that some people want to make money and their energy and drive is towards the perspective that you make money when you fleece people, when you exploit people, when you tactfully deceive people. A lot of people don't actually have energy for value delivery. And so what happens is, and even sometimes it's also passed down to clients as well, because at the end of the day, everybody is raised in that consciousness. When they say Connie man die, Connie man bury him, it's almost like someone who is playing smart, dies, and then the one who is also acting smart is the one who is burying him. So everybody's almost cutting corners because everybody really has belittled the place of value. And one thing about it is that maybe teachers might get this right and show the world, and I mean, when I mean the world, I mean our world and Nigeria and Africa, the direct way to go. Because if we understand and appreciate value to the intent of really pushing value first, I can tell you that value has a capacity to spread, as in you cannot imagine the spread. But you see, everybody wants to take and earn from just one person. I want to make my multi millions from Olumide Olushola. So anything he's asking of me that requires value, sometimes it leads me to outprice myself out of the market. And so, how do we get to balance this kind of thing like a scorecard where people do not necessarily have to begin to see things, just from a fleece perspective? And it's just money, 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 money. I want to make money. Teacher takeover, we have it means we have to make money. Yes, you have to make money. But I think impact, I think influence, you know, makes making money more stabilized. What's your take, Light? And I'm coming to Lushola as well.
Yes, I agree with you, and it's actually the truth is we can't rule out the fact um that a lot of people don't really want to do the homework or don't want to go through the process, but they just want it fast. It happens to everybody. It happens to a majority of people. Why? Because we're looking at present situation, we're looking at present gain, we're looking at that profit at that point and what it can solve for us, the immediate needs that we can actually solve with that profit that is needed. But just like you said, if we can look at building value over time, and when you build value over time, you are able to get even more than wealth or more than the money that you are expecting. And one way as an educator to build value over time is for you to be a for you to be a solution. So anywhere you are, anywhere you find yourself, be that solution, be that person that they can always go to ask questions concerning any whatever niche that you've carved out for yourself. So for example, we let me look at subject based. So when we look at we have literacy, we have numeracy, and we have all that. So be a guru at what you do, and that's it does not just happen in one day. It happens over time. It happens with you planning. It happens with you making inquiries. Happens with you. It happens with you doing a lot of research to be the best at whatever you do. And once you're the best at whatever you do, you are able to get that influence at the end of the day, and you can always convert. You can always convert or direct that influence to make the money that you want to do. Right now, there are a lot of opportunities that are out there for teachers. You can It's not just for you to be in your classroom. You can create something for yourself and be able to drive that influence and that value that you really want. So I think that is one way, building yourself to be that person of influence in whatever niche you're carving out for yourself, and be that go-to person, be that solution. In the long run, you are able to convert this to get the route and to get the money and to get the takeover that you want to achieve as a teacher.
Thank you very much. Olusola, you could also chip into that. We're talking about
Yes.
the dynamics.
Thank thank you. I didn't, somehow that's why I'm. But however, everybody, like you have said, like Light said, almost everybody we want to be aided. We need favor. We need somebody to refer us or give us this. And for me, there is nothing wrong in that. However, we should get to the point where we don't just say in the name of referral, I want somebody to get this or that. I will put mediocres on board. We can't take over that way. And that has affected us. I have told that sentiment appears to be the more problem we're having. Corruption is the younger brother of sentiment, because it all begins with sentiment. Oh, it's my tribe person. Oh, it's my church person. Oh, it's my mosque person. Oh, it's my family person. Does Ben have the wherewithal that? I'm not saying we should not help, but for how long are we going to be cutting corners? And by the time we give a carpenter a sewing machine, we are looking for trouble. And guess what? In the education sector,
Hello? Hello? Wow. It seems the network is not friendly today. But then, as we bring this towards a close, it will be interesting for us to uh, actually itemize what I would call maybe a takeover checklist. What would be that takeover checklist? Light, I'd like to hear your thought. If anyone, if any individual, any entrepreneur, any business person, and of course, in particular, any teacher wishes to have a takeover within their career, within their profession, within their industry, what should be on the checklist?
So the first thing on the checklist I think should be itemizing the goal. So the goal, we know that takeover is not just a result, but for us to get that result, there's actually a process. So what should be on the checklist for me? One is the goal. just itemize your goals, what you really want to achieve, the skills that are needed to achieve those goals, the knowledge that you need those goals, and how to get those knowledge, how to get the knowledge, the information that you need, the networks that you need. So these are the things I think or I suggest should be on the checklist for you to be able to have a takeover or to be able to take over as a teacher. You just have to have these skills, this on your checklist, and put them like a rubric that you can always tick at every point in time you've achieved, every time that you've achieved, every time that you've made a progress.
Light, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes. Did you hear
Are
me?
you? Yes. Are you done?
Yes, I am. Yes, I just said that what you can have on your checklist are the goals, the vision, what you really want to achieve, then the skills that you need to achieve to make yourself ready, then the knowledge that you need, the information, the networks that you need. So all this should be on your checklist.
Fantastic. While you were speaking, Dr. Derisola joined us, and I'd like to say good morning to her and welcome to the show, Dr. Derin.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much.
So we're talking about the teacher takeover, and we're using this as a subject matter to, open people's eyes to really understand how they come to a point where they are taking their place, or they pretty much assume control and competence. And the last question I asked was, if we're going to do this, what should be a checklist? And Light shared some things about goal, vision, networking. Are there other things that should come or should feature in a checklist for an individual, an expert, a professional, an educator who desires to take over?
Okay. For me, I feel aside networking and all that, I feel like there should be that. I don't know. I always start my this thing from self-awareness. There should be self-awareness, awareness of self, of why, my why. Like, because if you don't know why you are doing something, and maybe you just see that maybe the in thing now is every teacher is going for one training on Zoom, or whatever it is that your colleague is telling you, you would the slightest will I say challenge you encounter, be like, "Ah, maybe I've been teaching and I've been earning my money." Like, do you understand? So if you don't understand your reason, for some people it is maybe, for me, the motivator is always about the students I want to teach, that I want to serve them in the best possible way. I want to deliver. Your motivator could be that you want to get promotion, or you want to leave school, whatever. Ask why. So that why is what I think you should start with and hold on to, because trust me, there's no form of development that will require you, you will not meet challenges, because it is leaving your comfort zone. So another thing that teacher needs to also put into consideration is the fact that your personal development, or your takeover journey, will be expensive. So it will be expensive, at least if you're getting the quality one. So you cannot be equating your earnings. It's like there are some trainings I've taken that the university they cannot pay me. Do you understand? They can't, like, I will ask that, maybe how much can you even pay me, everything that like, if it cannot come from the money you are making from maybe the teaching job, at least not in Nigeria. I don't know about, maybe even private university, or even like all of them, we pay with the same salary, as in the same salary scale. Do you understand? It's not like there's a different salary. So I'm just, at least with the kind of money you make from Nigeria, the kind of trainings that are like global, this thing, they may not, it may be expensive. And I always say, because you know it is expensive, there are two routes. I might be partial towards this other route because, well, I teach about global opportunities, but I always say, like, we should do things with sense. So me now, I say, okay, there was a thing that one of my volunteers, she's a teacher at the primary school, Debbie. She volunteered for me for like over a year when I started I Train Africa. She's a teacher, like, at that level. And when she came to volunteer for, one of the major things that she did was she knew that probably she wanted to get on some global opportunity training. In fact, also she needed money to fund some trainings abroad. So I'm sure one of the things she thought about when I interviewed her, why you volunteering for me? She was like, oh, ma, I want to be able to, like, let me say, get close to you to understand this global opportunity thing. So I can find global trainings that, that fund this and everything like that. And this is what I bring to the table. I would do this, I would do that. Like, it was an exchange of value for her. Do you understand? Because she probably knew she could not afford my online course then to teach her about this thing. And me and this girl she worked tirelessly for me for 1 year. And one of the things that I gave to her as one of these things is to give her this my course that is like 500K for her to go through so that she could apply. And of course, because she was, as in the girl was, as in she had sense, she was good. So sometimes she would fill some applications, like there was one that was in the US. She would come. Of course, she could get volunteering experience this thing from me. So if you're a teacher, I always say, if you know that this thing is expensive, I say, now you need to sit down and think. Ask yourself, am I willing to pay for for someone that would train me, either that would train you on how to apply for, because it depends on what, if the training is maybe like $5,000, you probably cannot even afford it. So ask yourself, maybe I should go and look for a training that will pay $1,000. That training will now teach me how to apply for the kind of opportunities that they can fund me $5,000. Do you understand? As I think about your least cost, but people don't think like that. They will say, oh, $5,000, immediately exit off. Or you ask yourself, can I go and serve in a place, as in do service? What value do I have? Maybe I know how to, whatever, I know how to do something. If I offer this person this value in exchange for their program, they will give me this value and I will dedicate my this and they will give me. Ask yourself, what can you give? You must give something. It's an investment. So when I say it's expensive might be in terms of, like, what are you willing to give? If you don't have money, at least you will have time. But people are not willing to give anything. What can you give? That is my own thing. It is expensive, and you need to first aware of why you are doing it. Those are my contributions.
Wow. You've said so many things, and I'm going to ask this question. So we use this question as a parting shot, or better still, we use this question also. As our last shot. And I'm going to put it both to you and Light. And the question is this. You mentioned global opportunities and so many things. And a lot of people also have a picture in their mind when we talk about takeover and, growth and outcomes. How is there a formula or a magic wand? How do you determine the kind of thing when you say takeover? Maybe areas to explore, maybe, like you said, programs to identify, or there's so many things. We are sometimes part of options, but a lot of people want to follow your counsel, which is self-awareness. But from the self-awareness, the follow-up to it is, how do we point ourselves in the right direction? Dr. Dane, I want you to answer that very quickly, and then Light to answer, and then we'll end the show.
How do you point yourself in the right direction? I would say follow Unurush. I like me. And I'll use myself as a perfect example. I embarked on STEM skills in 2019, and I like the thing was coming down, nose driving. I just knew I was in problem. That self-awareness comes when you first realize you're in problem. You may not actually not know who, as in how to solve your problem, as in how to go in the right direction. I said the fastest and easiest thing is, I know I have problem. I'll go and look for who has had that problem before. That is how I point myself in the right direction. If I don't know who has had that problem before, I'll go and find out people that have sense, because most of the time people that have sense, they always have a community member of people that they have sense. Do you understand? So that is me. I'll say, what I did in 2019 was what? I went to go and look for Mrs. Ibukwa Woshika, because the kind of problem I had was what she probably mentored me on. So initially when I found her, probably I knew she was not even doing program that time of mentorship. I was just following. When I always say success always leaves crumbs, as in footprints. So I was just consuming from the free that I could consume. Maybe it's when there's something, you're about to say something is not expensive when you can pay for it. It is expensive when you have your money and can't pay for it. Do you understand? So at that time, she was not even offering anything. I was just looking like, this woman has built this business. She started at 26. I don't know, how did she do it? That was my major challenge. And I always say the universe has a way of bringing things to you. when you are aware, like of pointing you in the right direction, when you first understand I have a problem. So the fact that somehow my brain was already aware, as in consciously asking questions, this woman released the first mentorship this thing that she had that time. It was for, like, let me say, less than 100 women. She asked us to pay in 24 hours. And that's why I always, I said something before that it is always expensive. 24 hours, 25,000 naira. That money, of course, was not even enough to rent all. She rented the all as VI. But it was like that kind of thing, like you must want it very bad to get that 25,000. I got that, like the first thing I did when I saw that this thing, I was like, babe, I sensed the opportunity to her. This thing, in fact, you had to pitch to enter that room. Like why you need to be there. They selected. Do you understand? I'm also like, oh dear, you've been talking about you need this. Like, let me pay for you. I paid, I got into that program. Now that was 2019. If I tell you that I owe a lot of my tremendous growth to that session, that beginning, that's because I was first understanding my problem, and I found who could solve it. Whether she was offering it or not, at least I found the person. So pointing yourself in the right direction, start with, do you know what problem you have? What problem do you have as a teacher? What exactly is your problem? It will be different for some of us. Some of us is we cannot speak well. Some of us we don't have confidence to start, whatever. Find who is very eloquent. If that your problem is you cannot speak well, find the person. Then start to do monitoring spirits. Make sure you get access. That is my own. Get access, either by paying or by service. Get access. You know how many times I've said, Mrs. People will be telling me, "Then you are a big girl." You know how many times I've served on our this thing. I will pay for the program that she has again, and I will go and volunteer. Like volunteers don't have to pay, but I will pay. I will volunteer. Online or offline, volunteer. There's something I do every time. People that attend that program very well, they will know me. I will volunteer. I'll be there, stand doing work. Why? Because I need the answer. So please, that is how to go about this thing.
All right, thank you very much. And Light, can you just in 60 seconds to share your thoughts so that we wrap up now?
So there's no one way or one size fits all to actually go about this thing. Adding to what Dr. Derin has said, also get as much, just look for the vital skills that are related, especially the skills that they are skill trained related to whatever you want to build. So just look for it and get all the knowledge that you can get. It's not going to be an easy one. Sometimes it's expensive, but take every opportunity that you can to be able to be the best at that and be on the right track to taking over.
All right. So thank you so much. It's been a great time of learning, insight, understanding, and inspiration. Thank you, Dr. Denny, for joining and for your input. Thank you, Light. Thank you, Lushola Lumide, also for coming in. Unfortunately, I think there was a bit of network issues. Thank you for those who've joined, and thank you to those who watched the replay. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, God willing. And always remember, it's not what you know that matters, it's what you do with what you know. All right. And on that note, we're going to say our goodbyes at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. It's always
Great
Good
morning.
morning on the Good Morning Education Show.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.